So you want to travel around the world, but you don't know how much it's going to cost. Well, my name's Christian, and I've been to over 65 countries by the age of 24, and here's how much it exactly costs to travel in any area of the world. Now, the current trip I'm on has been in the last 2 years, but I've been traveling for over 5 years, and I've kept an exact budget of how much I've spent everywhere in the world. Now, let's talk about one of the most popular locations to travel to all around the world, and that's Western Europe. Now, Western Europe over the last couple of years has gotten extremely expensive, and I'm talking about places like Spain, France, London, Belgium, the Netherlands. They've gotten very pricey. So if you're looking for a budget travel adventure, this probably isn't the place. Now for accommodation, if you're looking for a hostel, you're gonna find them roughly between the $20 and $40 per night range, with budget hotels being anywhere from $60 to $100 per night. Street food, you can find it between $5 to $10 per meal, with restaurants gonna be about $10 to $20 depending on what you get. I'm aware that they use euros, but I'm converting it into dollars because that's what I use. Now, one thing in Western Europe that's definitely gonna be your friend is transportation. I always encourage people to use public transportation while they're in Europe because it's really reliable and it's really cheap. But also, you can travel to different countries in Western Europe for a very affordable price using things like Flixbus, Ryanair, BlaBlaCar. To travel between cities and countries, you'll spend anywhere between $10 and $30, with sometimes flights being in the teens from $10 to $15 on Ryanair, Wizz Air, or EasyJet. And of course, since you're traveling, you're going to be doing activities, but in Western Europe, they are definitely pricier, so remember that when you're traveling there. So on average, in Western Europe, you're going to roughly be spending between $2,000 and $2,500 per month traveling around the area. Now, this budget is going to be dependent on the person. For me, I can do it for the $2,000, but for other people, they might go above the $2,500 to $3,000. It depends on what type of traveler you are. Now, for the most expensive area of the world to travel around, Scandinavia. Now, Scandinavia consists of Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, and let me just tell you, they are incredibly pricey. Accommodation-wise, hostels are going to run you anywhere between $30 and $60 per night. Especially in Norway, you usually won't find anything under $45 for a shared room in a dorm. If you're looking for hotels or Airbnbs, easily you're going to be spending over $100 to $150 per night. And unfortunately for food, it doesn't get any easier. A coffee in Scandinavia is going to roughly be around $4 to $5, and meals are going to be roughly $20. That's at the cheap place. I remember getting a bacon cheeseburger without any fries or anything, and it was $20. If you're looking to do a fancy restaurant, you're going to be spending probably around $50 per meal. However, one good thing is transportation is incredible in Scandinavia. They're basically completely linked with all the train systems, so traveling from Denmark to Sweden to Norway is super easy. You can do it on the bus as well for an even cheaper price. But it is still going to be more expensive. It's going to be about 2 times what you would pay for that distance anywhere in Western Europe. And I'm a big fan of being spontaneous, but if you are going to Scandinavia and you plan on spending time in Scandinavia, you need to book things in advance or you're going to be paying an even higher price. With all of that being said, for 1 month in Scandinavia, I'd say in any of the countries, or if you're traveling around, you're going to need at least $2,500 to $3,000 US. Now, if you're in Norway, I would push that up to $3,500. If you're down in Denmark, you could figure out how to do it for the $2,500 range. Remember, it gets more expensive. Denmark's the cheapest, then it's Sweden, then it's Norway, and remember, the prices on alcohol are insane. Now it's time for one of my favorite locations in the world, and this is Eastern Europe and the Balkans. Now, besides Southeast Asia and South America, I've spent most of my time traveling in Eastern Europe and the Balkans, so I'm incredibly knowledgeable on how much things cost in this area of the world. And you're going to be lucky to know they are nothing like the prices we just talked about for Scandinavia. For accommodations, you can find hostels anywhere from $9 to roughly $18. You can find beautiful hotels or Airbnbs for as low as $25 to $30 per night. In the Balkans and Eastern Europe, you should not be spending more than $30 to $40 for a private room anywhere. If you're looking for a refresher on what countries these are, I'm talking about places like Bosnia, Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, Serbia, all these countries. One country that I will put a caveat on is Croatia. None of this applies for Croatia. Croatia is super overpriced for the area. Now, for food, it gets even better. You can find street food in the Balkans and Eastern Europe for under $5 per meal. And if you want to go sit down at a restaurant, you'll pay anywhere from $7 to $12. Usually won't pay any more than than $12, and that usually includes an appetizer, entree, and sometimes even a drink. Now, transportation here is going to be very interesting. It is still very inexpensive and cheap, but you won't be using the trains. The Balkans especially don't have that much of a developed train system, so almost everything is through buses. Again, it's super easy, it's super affordable. You can get to any other country for under $15 if you book about a day or so in advance. Flixbus is your best friend. And for activities, it's the same. Any sort of activity you're going to be paying under $30 for. If you're paying more, then I would reconsider or go try to find somebody else. And in this area of the world, there's a for sure discount on in-person rather than booking online. With all that being said, you can travel around Eastern Europe and the Balkans with a budget of $1,500 to $2,000 per month. Depending on the country, you could probably squeeze out a little bit less. Now, this next area of the world, I'm going to group together because of the price. This is Southeast Asia and South America. If you're trying to travel the world on a budget, these are the two places you need to go to. On the last 12 months, I've spent 6 in Southeast Asia and 6 in South America. And for accommodation, it's almost unbelievable how inexpensive it is. For a hostel in both Southeast Asia and South America, you can find them from anywhere from $1 to about $15. With Southeast Asia, the average price being about $5 to $6 per night, and South America being anywhere from $8 to $10 per night. Now, food prices are almost unbelievable. On average, you'll be spending anywhere from $1 to $4 on your meal, and in South America, it's going to be anywhere from $2 to $6. I'm not talking about skimping out on a meal as well. This entire meal for that price for both places, you will be completely full. In Southeast Asia, it will just be one big portion of food most of the time, while in South America, you usually get an entree, that food, and a dessert. Transportation is going to be a similar price. In Southeast Asia, you can find overnight buses from anywhere from $10 to $15 on wherever you want to go. On South America, these buses are going to be a similar price. However, they're going to be within the countries. South America is a massive place, so going between countries, usually you will rely on a flight, which will be anywhere from $30 to $50. While the prices on activities don't even make sense, I was just in Peru, and doing full day tours was under $30, including transportation, food, and the experience. While Southeast Asia is very similar, it's going to be under $30 to $40 for an entire day's worth of things to do. Now, a slight disclaimer about Southeast Asia and South America. In places like Chile and Uruguay, it is going to be much more expensive. On Southeast Asia, if you go to places like Singapore, the same thing applies. But if you go to places like Vietnam, northern Thailand, Peru, Argentina, all of these things apply, and they're even a little bit cheaper. So with all that being said, traveling around these areas will cost you about $750 to $1,250 per month. Now, 2 areas of the world that I'm not going to talk about. One is Africa, because I've only been to Northern Africa, so I cannot give you reliable information on how much it costs. Number 2 is North America, because it just does not make sense to travel around North America. It's far too expensive. The public transportation is almost non-existent, and I just don't think it's worth it. Now, travelers, of course, these are my budgets traveling around the world. I'm a little bit of a cheaper guy when I travel, so your budget might be completely different, but use this as a baseline. The biggest piece of advice that I can give you that I tell people all the time is you won't know how much you will truly spend until you do it. So what I would say is have a comfortable budget saved up, go to one of these areas of the world for 1 month, track how much you spend, and then you can see what you need to tone back. With that being said, I want to say a big thank you to the Patreon, Instagram, and Facebook members for making this travel around the world possible. And if you want to join them, the links are in the description. Remember, guys, travel is a privilege, and enjoy every second of it. And I will see you in a new video sometime soon. See ya.